Okay. Okay, here we are. Episode 149 of Houston with a Problem. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. What? How did we get here? Huh? A little flappy butt dog in the side camera? How did we get here? This is weird. This is wild. It's been, I think my first episode ever posted, which I probably forgot to mark the anniversary, was April 27th. So in just a year's time, done 100 and almost 150 of these suckers. That's wild. Anyway, I really didn't have anything to talk about right off the bat. I kind of spent most of the day walking dogs, hanging out, chit-chatting. So there you have it. Might as well go on whatever's on your minds rather than what's on my mind, because my mind ain't got nothing on it. So I'm going to give you one of these because if you notice the window behind me, shaboing, it is dark. So, boom. And turned off. And the regular intro is turned off. They're both turned off. So no second intro today. We're going to start this week. And it's going to be amazing. And there's going to be no double intros. And there we are. Okay. So, you guys started right off the bat half an hour ago when I posted this thing. So, here we are. Lost Waves, sup with your boy Kenny doing events and tweeting AMC theaters. Not my boy. If anything, it's psychological warfare, right? I mean, as everyone talking about it, he knew that all the conspiracy-minded folks that are on the side of this play love to read into everything that gets tweeted and posted and look for secret messages and stuff like that. So I think they knew full well that what they were doing was they were codifying either some sort of resentment, fear, FUD. They know what they're doing. So the question is, we don't know what they're doing. Are they saying like, hey, Citadel and Adam Aaron were like this, which I think is true. Or are they just, they know if they mention anything with AMC, people are going to freak the hell out. So that's why they did it. Paratarian, he said, did you ever get a chance to look into Skyhook? Still think it's a fantastic way of a low-cost exploration. I read up on it more. I mean, we will probably have a space elevator before we got something like Skyhook. Skyhook might be something that takes having a space elevator in order to get to. So that's probably where the Skyhook thing is. If you guys don't know, Skyhook is this thing. I just learned about it one of the last shows. Is you put a really heavy weight at an orbit above the Earth, and you have a tether that's swinging around. So as it orbits, there's this thing flying around, so you can attach small payloads to it, and it'll just catapult them up into space while it's swinging around. It's a pretty cool thing. You look it up on Wikipedia, you can see little examples of it, of how it would work. It's all theoretical, but they've been thinking about it since the 60s, and no one's ever done anything about it, though. So, but it's pretty cool. I'm all about... My favorite kind of science is doing this weird sci-fi shit. Just do it. But now someone's talking about the Blue Jays. What did the Blue Jays do today? I did not. No, beat the Mariners. That's why you're talking about the Blue Jays. Mariners have a losing record. They're 4 games back of 500. Mariners, 4 hits. Goodness. Didn't get a chance to see him today. Michael Pitsko. How about them Blue Jays? Always been super busy lately. Haven't gotten around to make or sending out your shirt, but no worries. I haven't forgotten. Keep sunny side up. I'll be looking. It was Danelle's birthday on Saturday. Is that when it was? Today's Monday. Yeah, I think it was Saturday. So I did my Twitch show with her. The shirt she sent me with Monkey Butt and Chalupa Batman on it. That shirt is so cool. I love it. Homer's Ghost. Houston, thoughts on beans? They exist. You can eat some, you can plant others. There's your beans. Curious one. I hope someday somebody writes a book what this whole experience was like on the other side. It'll be fun to compare, for instance, how they were feeling a month before the dividend, pure popcorn. I'd be curious, like, are they quaking in their boots, or are they just doing lots of rails of cocaine and giving themselves, like, false confidence complexes? We got this. Well, yeah, we're doing it, can never die. So I'd be interested to see, like, which side. Are there going to be window jumpers? They lost everything? I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot of crypto guys. Sad but true, but probably a lot of crypto guys are going to be ending themselves after the last week we've had. If you had $100,000 in Luna 8 days ago, you've got 1/10 of 1 penny today. I've read about people that had $74 million 8 days ago that have nothing now. That's the type of, like, you know, hopelessness that go from I'm ruling the world, I'm driving a Tesla, I'm living in a mansion, I'm dating a model, to I have nothing, and now I've got, you know, $15,000 a month in mortgage ahead of me. How do you overcome that? And that is, there needs to be probably a lot of therapists on call for a lot of these folks right now who might see it as very bleak. So, yeah. So, yeah. Just in my head, Burry's a little nuts, huh? Supposedly he's on the side of the apes, but I didn't expect to see him referred to CRT as anti-white education. Indoctrination, actually. Anti-white indoctrination was what he said. And, yeah. I don't know if you guys saw his tweet that, of course, he deleted. He basically said that the Buffalo shooter, who wrote a giant manifesto about replacement theory, which is this conspiracy theory that white people are going to be replaced with black and brown people, and that we need to go to war with all of them and kill them so that we don't become the minority in this country. Which, why would white people be scared of being a minority? Is it that minorities in this country get treated poorly? I don't know. And he said it wasn't because of the racist propaganda this guy absorbed constantly on 4chan and Stormfront and everything else he visited, but it was because COVID lockdowns and anti-white indoctrination in schools is what triggered him. So fuck Michael Burry. No, it was this dude's racist parents, the racist websites he visited, and the racist things he fetishized, and the fact that he was a complete psychopath who was torturing animals too does not help. So no, it's not learning of that, you know, the South started the Civil War is not what caused him to drive hours out of his way to Buffalo to go execute black people. That is not at all why that happened. It happened because he was a piece of shit, raised by pieces of shit, and being indoctrinated by a bunch of pieces of shit. And there you have it. That's Michael Burry himself is a racist asshole. So, you know, he might know something, a thing or two about shorting stocks, but he's also a racist asshole. So, a bit paranoid, and a little bit delusional. Okay. Daphne, today on Lightning Warriors live stream, posted the live chat with Computer Share on limits on how much you can place online orders to sell GME shares. It was 214,000 for each GME and a total limit of 9,999,000 for an online transaction. Yes, apparently today or yesterday, Computer Share raised the limit to $10 million that you can put for your shares. So if you are in Computer Share, you can place a limit order right now for $9,999,999.99 in Computer Share. So there you go. Okay. B-Balls 3710. Which company is the new diabetes testing company? No Labs. KNOW Labs. And Metamaterial also is doing that. So both of them have a non-invasive glucose monitoring system. No Labs is a little bit ahead of the curve. Metamaterials just got approved for their patent. No Labs had their patent in for years, and they're now in human trials. So they're going to be closer to market than Metamaterial is. So they're my guess is they'll grab the lion's share first. Okay. Yeah, tickers. Yeah, KNWN is the ticker. Thank you, Daphne. Pro-ish Dungle. No, I haven't gotten the name yet. I used to see John like once a week, and I haven't seen him at all since he's like, oh, I should go to coffee, and he's just been gone. I'll find out the name. I will. When I find it out, I will tell you, and we'll know. But right now, it's probably in the gutter with every other crypto coin out there. Sorry, Pro-ish. Okay. Julianne, Houston, can you tell me what the blocks are at the top of this formation and why they are there? Ooh, intriguing. Okay, so we are somewhere in the west, in the southwest. Where are we going? Where? Oh, we are in Utah again, where we were before. This looks like a sandstone block, maybe a dike, but I doubt a dike. This is one little. This looks like a dissolved mesa. Yeah, it's a mesa. So this is an ancient seafloor here, and it's the last little remnants of it. So across the entire desert was a floor pan that extended all the way across and has eaten away via erosion. So this stuff and this stuff is all the same rock. So this is the Caneville Mesa, and then this is another mesa that's there. So this is probably, it might be Navajo sandstone at the very top. And then Cadena down here, this purpley stuff. That'd be my guess. But yeah, it's all an erosive material. So this imagine it was a flat plateau that has been eaten away by erosion. You can see the river system here, and this river system has just carried that stuff away. Stuff blows and rolls downhill. So it's the last little vestment of what's left of that plateau. That plateau extended over all these things. So what level is this? 6,044 here, and 6,023. Yeah, it's the same rock layer. I'm sure there's more of them. Yep, this one here. It's about 6,000 feet in this mesa. So this is the uplifted part over here. Where is this? Wayne County. So this must be Capitol Reef. Is that where we are? Torrey, Bicknell, Fremont, Bryce Canyon. That's gotta be Capitol Reef in here. Moab be down the corner, right? Mexican Hat. Yeah. So this is all Capitol Reef. Capitol Reef is really pretty. I had an idea when Google Glass came out. They're looking for all sorts of programs and apps. I thought having a GPS-based rock layer app would be pretty cool. So you could wear your glasses and a little reader screen. If you looked at a canyon wall in Bryce Canyon or Capitol Reef, it would show you what rock layers you're looking at and how old they were and what kind of fossils you could find there. I thought that'd be pretty cool. It'd be really complicated to write, but I thought about this whole region for that. It would be pretty awesome. Okay. All right. And then, you guys are giving me too many coordinates right off the bat. So, Steve, I'm going to say it wrong, Gaghagen. And I did not like it. Oh, it's because for some reason you keep an apostrophe there, and it's supposed to be quotation. There we go. Southern Hemisphere. We are in somewhere in the jungle. We are in. Oh, we're back at this thing again. Cycles of different pictures. There's no pictures here, unless we go back in time. 1985. Nothing. 2003. Nothing. 2010. Nothing. There we go. So wait. 2013. There's a thing. Oh, it moves. What the fuck? How? What? Did they make a floating island to bounce around in some sort of weird gyre? What the heck? What am I looking at? It moves. It's like a floating little island thing. What in the world? What is this thing? Who built this cool thing? What the heck is going on? What? Man, okay. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on at all. What the heck? Wait, why are you taking me all the way to 85? Went back to the... What the what? That's crazy. Okay, Steve. You got me. I have no idea what's going on there. None. Weird. Weird. Okay. Blowing my mind, Steve. Lost Waves. When is the Fed hiking rates again? Next month? I bet they'll probably raise once a month or a couple times a quarter at this point. They raised in, what, March? And then again this month. So maybe in July, if not every other month. So they'll be raising rates. We'll probably see home mortgages in the 7 to 8% range by the time we get into September. It's gonna be happening. Aaron Salentine, Houston. So how does the big short squeeze play out? Is it normally take 3 months after dividend for squeeze, or is it right away if the hedge fund can't deliver crypto dividend? I was gonna look at that today. What did big finish at? Because you had to buy big by today in order to qualify for the dividend, because it's T+2. So big didn't do shit. So there was no price action to buy it up. We had a little bit of spike earlier in the day and was up like 8%, 9%. But it pretty much finished where it started, a little bit down. So the dividend's going to get offered. And then I guess we got to wait to see if there is failures to deliver for those dividends. So people are defaulting on their obligations. And if they get forced to buy, to buy shares to make up for that. So, yeah, that's what we're looking for. But, all right, well, there you go. We have time. I think it's going to take about 3 months for that to cycle out. So, we may be in it for a while. Just in my head, what are your odds that Putin has a nuclear dead man switch for when the cancer gets him? Not good. The United States basically had, the president says launch, and then somebody launches. Russia, there is a chain of 9 people between Putin and the last guy who pushes the button in the silo. So anywhere along those 9, if they go, yeah, we not do this, then there's no launch. So Putin doesn't have a nuclear football in the same capacity that the president of the United States does. There actually is a much deeper bureaucratic ladder that has to be climbed to get to the person who actually presses the button. So that's one thing that's going for us in that respect. So I don't think it quite has it. Also, I think that the oligarchs are probably going to take him out. There's rumors now that's blood cancer he has. There was thyroid cancer, Parkinson's. Whatever it is, he's not well at the moment. He's looking real puffy. A little shaky in some of his videos. Doesn't look like the strong man he once was. He seems to be somebody that's on the steep decline. And I'll be curious to see what happens after this month, because all the conscripts that are fighting currently in Ukraine, their contract is up in June. And they will have a complete collapse in manpower among their fighting force, because those guys don't want to be there. They want to get the hell out of there. So I'll be curious to see what happens then. If they formally declare war and then they can conscript anybody under the age of 60 in Russia and force them to fight, then I think the popularity of Putin will definitely take a big hit. Meow meow. Did you know the Volvos are the safest cars because of all the mooses in Sweden? They hang out under a bridge during snowstorms and cars smack into them. Well, I mean, I know there's lots of moose in Sweden. There's a great video of a drunk moose stuck in the crotch of a tree because it ate a bunch of fermented apples. And that was in Sweden. I thought that was awesome. I don't know why I thought of that, but there you go. I got pulled over driving back from Canada. I was going way too fast in my truck. And the Canadian Mountie pulls me over and he's like, so just so you know, the speed limit is 90K. That's like 55 US, not 90 miles an hour. And I was like, oh, no, okay. Yeah, I can hit a moose and you hit that thing in the legs and the whole body comes in the windshield. Noted. All right. He let me go. Took off. Paratarian. So, come June 2nd, what are we expecting, looking for? I badly want to quit this hellish job, and MOAS by summer will be great. I think MOAS this summer is a very real possibility. Some people disagree with me. But I will be splitting. I've got my investment in the stocks, which is my hedge, and then I'm going to be playing the options game so that if it goes up a lot, but not quite MOAS levels, I might be able to generate enough cash that it won't matter. I could at least take 2 or 3 years of living comfortably before I have to worry about anything again, and I might play that game. And we might get 2 or 3 big spikes in the price of GameStop this summer from the action of this dividend. My guess is we'll probably get a spike leading up to the date of record. We might even get a spike leading up to or the day after the shareholders meeting. We'll get another spike leading up to the date of record. We'll probably get a spike leading up to when the actual dividend is issued. We might get another spike in the months after the dividend is issued when liquidations happen for those who defaulted on their loan obligations. So we might get 3 to maybe 4 big price spikes as a result of all this. And if you play the options right, which I'm taking a little chunk, I'm going to play the options. So I'm going to write a spike, turn that into puts, write it down, turn into options, turn calls, write it back up, put into puts, write it down. And I'm going to ride each cycle and just see where it gets me. And because why not? Why not play that game? It's a game that the hedge funds will play when they're doing this stuff against us. So I'm going to take that ride. And then, if it does moonshot at one of these points, then I've got my physical shares that I can sell for MOAS money. Okay, Mupolin. So the canary is dead. How low do you predict GME and AMC and price will get before the spring is fully loaded to explode into a squeeze? Well, we had a bunch of failures to deliver in March. A lot of them. And I think those failure to delivers, the T35 is towards the end of this month. So we may see a good little price action leading into the shareholders meeting. So this week and next week might be the last, like where they're trying to bottom it out before we see some forced buying happen as a result of that. But how low can it go? I don't see GME being able to get lower than like 70. We bounced off of 69, I think, in February or so, or early March, and then it rocketed from there. That seems like reasonable. I mean, if it does go lower, how? Because all of us would dump our entire paychecks and like forego food in order to pick up GME for prices like that. Some people are like, oh, it's going to go back to 40. I don't know if it can go back to 40 before then. Not with the FOMO coming for the dividend. That's gonna make it rocket. And we've seen that some big whales are dumping Tesla and buying GameStop and doing things like that. So they're seeing this right now as an opportunistic price. This is a good price to buy at for the intrinsic value that the stock offers. So it's coming. It's coming. I don't think it can go much lower. I might be wrong. I could totally be wrong, but we'll probably see some stuff where we'll bounce off 80, hit 110, and bounce off 80 again. So it might zigzag around in there for the next couple of weeks. G-Fund YYC, hey HW, food shortages are going to be nuts going into this fall. Drought, fertilizer. What are some ways to hedge against it or be better prepared? Grow your own food? It's probably the easiest. No, it's not necessarily easy. Growing your food sucks. But it's probably the best guarantee is to, plant some lettuce and carrots and sugar snap peas and strawberries and whatever else that might grow where you are. CSAs. They can be a little pricey because they're kind of for yuppies and stuff, but your local mini little farms, they offer CSAs. You can buy like bulk food once a week from them, fresh veggies. Sometimes the CSAs include poultry or other proteins. Otherwise, I think food all around, the price is going to go up in food. It's just, we're going to see inflation in food prices at levels we never thought possible come this fall. And that's saying a lot considering that so much of our food is subsidized by the government. We subsidize corn and soy and sugarcane and all sorts of stuff. So, but I think food prices are just going to go up in general. I don't know if you guys have read much about what's going on in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka did an order of organic fertilizer from China, like a big bulk order for all their farmers across the country. And the fertilizer was toxic, and it killed off pretty much their entire food supply. So Sri Lanka has no food. And they also have no oil because they're importing from Russia. And they are screwed. And there's probably going to be food riots and civil strife and a lot of bad stuff happening in Sri Lanka. They're defaulting on their bonds. And that's probably another canary in the coal mine for other places around the world. India has said they aren't going to export any wheat this year. And we as a globe are kind of counting on Indian exports to pick up the slack. But again, keep your eyes peeled on China. If China becomes a net exporter of wheat, that means they are laundering wheat via black market through Russia and out through China. So we may see that. But China itself has many, 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 many problems they're dealing with in that our economy is crashing hard. Their zero tolerance lockdowns are resulting in like 10% workforce. People just can't get to work because they aren't allowed to leave their buildings. The Sinovac vaccine doesn't appear to have done anything. It has no effect on Omicron. And if someone in your building tests positive, then everyone in that building is locked in their place for 2 weeks until there's an all clear. And, passenger travel in China is down 90%. Shanghai, the city of Shanghai, one of the largest cities in the world, 25 million people. Not a single car was sold in the last month in Shanghai. That's how locked down that city is. I've been meaning I should write my friend Coco in Fujian and ask her what's going on. But she's definitely brainwashed by the Chinese leadership. So she never tells me the honest truth. But I'll ask her and see what's going on. She's a school teacher in Fujian, southern China. And when I talked to her at the beginning of COVID, I asked her about like, hey, are you experiencing lockdowns where you are? And she's like, what? I'm like, COVID, like the big giant pandemic that's sweeping the world. She's like, I have COVID and I've never heard of that. So she's pretty oblivious and just only watches like party television. So she has no idea. She probably doesn't have the best idea what's going on, but she might tell me what's happening. Bupulin, if you hypothetically were trying to time getting in at the bottom, lowest price before a spike, what tactics, things, look, strategy would you use? I've only ever gotten in at the bottom by accident. Like, I got in to GameStop. I think the intraday bottom was like $38 after the baby squeeze in January, and that was the day I just happened to buy. And it was completely by accident. I was like, well, $40 seems good. Put in an order, and I got it for $38. I was like, good enough for me. Outside of that, most of the time I'm like, I think this might be the bottom, and then it goes down another 10-15%. I'm like, gah, I should have waited. A lot of folks will do ladder buying methods. Well, they'll just buy at lower prices and then work their way back up so their average overall cost is lower. Some may buy a little bit and then wait, see if it drops and buy a little bit more. And then when it starts to bounce back up, that's when they dump everything in. So they're closer to the bottom than everything else. But I that's like stuff that rich people who have a lot of money to play with can afford to do. But as poor people, when it's just a few shares, you just buy and then hold. That's what you do. So that's probably the best strategy. But I never get it exactly right, except for that one time in February 2021. B-Ball 3710. I see all these cost to borrow rates like it's supposed to be a big deal. Well, why does it seem like a big nothing burger? That's because every fundamental mechanic in the entire market is all screwed up. In the past, if you saw a cost to borrow rate in a stock that was 470%, the entire market would shit a brick expecting to see the price of that stock go to $1 kajillion within a few days. But because all these stocks have cost to borrow rates that are absolutely insane like that, everyone's so desensitized to what it means and no one knows what to make of it. It's like we're like an Orwellian novel where they made weird bad news so prolific that now when weird bad stuff happens, we go, we should be freaking out about this, and then no one does anything. It's that frog slow boiling in water type analogy. Emerald Nutmeg. Where are you taking me, Emerald Nutmeg? Bam, bam, bam. We're flying across the world. We're landsetting. We're going back to North America. We are somewhere southeast. Oh, this is that old radar station in Vermont, isn't it? Yeah, London Air Force Station. Yeah, we've been here before. It's an abandoned Air Force Station, I think in Vermont. Is that right? That's like Champlain? Yeah, we're in Vermont. Yeah. So this is the East Coast version of the Boron radar station that's in the desert in California. It's been abandoned as well. So you can come up here, I guess, and climb around in these old places. The pictures? No pictures. Nuts. So we've got some domes from some old radar sites, some old buildings. Not quite as extensive as the Boron station, because the Boron station also became after it was closed, it became a minimum security prison. They didn't have walls. It was like a club fed. So we can find Boron here. Antelope Valley, Los Angeles, Edwards Air Force Base, Mojave, Reefer City, 5 Points Monolith, Rosamond, Randsburg, here we go. So Boron south of Randsburg, and it is, go through the desert, down here, down this highway, down here, and there's the mine. And is that Boron? No. Where are you, Boron? Where are you? Boron Air Force Base that's abandoned in the desert. How come I can't find you? There's only one road out of there, and it drives down, and that's the main intersection. That's the town of Boron, and the Boron Air Force. There it is. Here it is. So this is the old Boron radar station. It's an FAA site, so there's an FAA site here. It is technically illegal to trespass and go through all the abandoned houses, because there was like military housing for people and the old prison rooms here and stuff like that. They had a bunch of baseball fields and track fields and stuff, because they would have the prisoners were like white collar prisoners, your Gabe Griffin type people, and they would actually coach Little League and like Pee Wee football and stuff for the local town. So there was no fences. They could just wander in the desert and disappear, but it was so hot and miserable that they figured people would just die before they got anywhere. But you can drive into this town, you can climb around. You might have somebody be like, I'm going to call the sheriff, and they're going to come out here and arrest you, but the sheriff will never come, because the sheriff's like an hour away. He's like, ugh, by the time I get there, they're gonna be gone. So they'll threaten you, but you can walk around, check stuff out. Lots of cool YouTube videos of like dirt bikes flying through the houses and stuff here. That's the Boron station. That's the West Coast equivalent. These were radar stations set up to look for those like Russian Buffalo bombers that would be first strike weapons coming to kill us. And then we developed better systems offshore and stuff, so they closed this whole thing. But yeah, now it's FAA site. They just do air traffic monitoring out here, and you're not supposed to go there, but you know, who cares? If you get arrested, don't say it's my fault though. Lost Ways, wise Jim Cramer, Dr. Roxo. I do cocaine. Lost Waves, Houston, day 69 of 100% utilization tomorrow. That's a big deal because I think 81 days was when we did the baby squeeze. So we're 12 days away from that. 12 business days, which is how many days do we have before the meeting? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So on day 82 of 100% utilization is the day of our shareholders meeting for GME. I wonder if they counted that out and they made that day specifically for that. Huh. Interesting. What a quinky dink. Set a record at 82 days of 100% utilization on the day of our shareholders meeting. Stroke your chin, everybody at home. Stroke your chin and go, interesting. Interesting indeed. Lost Ways, you should watch Metal Lords on Netflix. Is that the movie about the kids who started a metal band? I saw some sort of like trailer for it. And if it is, I could watch something about a metal band. Peace attack. Does organic, non-GMO food have any nutritional or health benefits? No. Some people will say, "Oh, GMO food is bad for you. It'll change your DNA." It doesn't. The one claim they can make is that herbicides and pesticides, that residue can affect people. I do fully agree that if you have the opportunity to get organic that doesn't have bad herbicides and pesticides and fertilizers on it, do it. But as far as like nutritional benefit, calories, whatever, probably the GMO stuff is probably oftentimes better for you, unless it happens to be some crazy heirloom that's rad. Like if you're a tomato person, heirloom tomato will kick the crap out of some red GMO tomato you have that's really boring, but they're going to be a lot more expensive. Crazy weird heirloom apples are rad. But a lot of genetically modified foods, yes, they might be made hardier to battle bugs or whatever pesticides you might dump on them. But a lot of them also are designed to be superfoods. You got super rice, you have foods that will have higher yields per acre, thus feeding more people, and more people get fed. I am not like a fan of monoculture. I do think that having diverse crops is a good thing for the soil and for the farms themselves. Because if you're putting all your eggs in one basket, to go back to that colloquialism, then you want to be able to have stuff to hedge against market forces. So like this year, everyone's gonna be trying to grow wheat because they know that wheat prices are gonna go through the roof, which means other crops that can grow in the same conditions might not get grown, and they might see prices skyrocket. So it's gonna be a very weird one, that's for sure. Still stroking my chin, going, I see a monkey butt over my shoulder, giving me the look of, I want my blanket. Do you want your blanket? Is that what you want? Is that what you're waiting for? You've been waiting for your blanket like a good little dog. Okay. Ready? Whee! Become a Sith Lord. She's like, okay, I'm a Sith. Hoshi Gaming. Houston is getting a loan and using half of it for GME and the other half to pay it off until MOAS. A smart idea. Upstart offered me $20K and I need some insight. Domo Sensei, Houston. I don't recommend taking out loans to invest in general. I mean, on paper, you go, okay, I take 20,000 and I use 10,000 on GME, which will net you, 100 shares. Cool. 100, a little 100 more, 110 shares maybe. You got 110 shares. And in no time, that sucker could double, go back up to 200 again like it did a month ago. And you can have $20,000 in there. And then use the rest, the other 10,000 you have, to slowly pay off the loan. Okay? I mean, you have a plan. You're more than welcome to do it. I just don't like spending other people's money that I have to pay back on things. It makes me uncomfortable, especially after seeing all these dudes get absolutely brutalized on margin via crypto in the last 8 days. I just don't like that. I don't know. It makes me uneasy. Trading on margin makes me uneasy. Doing anything outside of cash account. If you have an Upstart loan, it's going to be one of those non-collateralized loans. So if you do get into trouble, you can be like, yeah, fuck it. I declare Chapter 7 and walk away, I guess. But yeah. I'm not going to recommend taking out loans. I've read people on here and on Twitter that like mortgage their homes to buy thousands of GME shares, which might feel awesome to have them all, but still, that is like a weird realm of risk that I don't feel comfortable playing with myself. Emerald Nutmeg, wash your bed sheets. Yes, wash your bed sheets once a week minimum. Everybody, take them off your bed, stick them in the laundry, put fresh sheets on once a week. Do that, please. Please do that. Okay. Legacy 10 Productions, Houston. What do you think will be the order of events? MetaMat Divvy, GME Stock Divvy, Market Crash, MOAS. GME Stock Divvy, Metamaterial Divvy. Oh, no. GME Stock Divvy, perhaps MOAS, and Metamaterial Divvy somewhere in there this summer. I'm not sure which one will come first. Hopefully MOAS comes first, personally. Market Crash by this fall for sure. If not, we're in it right now. I think we might be in the process of market crashing. When we've lost $11 trillion in wealth this year alone, which is 5 times what was lost in 2008. So we are in a full-on crash right now. This correction is huge. Entire countries are failing. But yeah, somewhere in there. But GME Divvy's first. That's the first thing. We know that's going to be first. I don't think the Metamaterial Divvy will come until after we see an Oilco ticker for all of our MMTLP shares. So we're waiting on that. Bojangles, Houston Wade is my dad. Possibly. Bojangles, if you are born, let's see here. It would have been September 1999, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. If you were born June or July 2000, there is a infinitesimal chance that I am your father, because that is 9 to 10 months after my first donation I ever did. And you've got maybe 500 other siblings out there. So, family reunion someday, I guess. Terrifies me to think about. I've got progeny. They'll be turning 22 this year. But, such is life. Okay. Owen Saunders, morning, dudes. IRS, 5 a.m. in Wales. Oh, we got the Welsh here. Hope we don't get a stock split in the form of shares and a spin-off company. The hedge fund will short that like metamaterial and MMTLP. Anyway, much love. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be a spinoff. I think we're going to get GME shares is what we're going to get. They may do a spinoff later because they can keep fighting. They could do a spinoff later. They can take us to another platform to trade on. They can recall their shares. There are certain things they can do. They can hammer one after the other each quarter if they want to, and keep this thing firing if it doesn't trigger. Daphne, Houston, if they start mining the moon for Helium-3, how will it be delivered to Earth? Have you heard anything about actual plans to do this soon? Thoughts on Space Force Colorado senators are promoting. Okay. Someone asked about the possibility, how we bring this to the Earth. First, we would probably literally take a container, launch a big empty container into space, throw it at the moon, fill it up when it gets to the moon, launch it from the moon, take it back to Earth, and have it come into re-entry and hopefully not burn up. That's probably the first way we get the big first, 26,000 tons of helium-3, or 26,000 pounds of helium-3 into the Earth. So 13 tons of helium-3. That might be the first. And that's enough helium-3 to power the United States for a year. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. The best way, I think, would be you do a lunar space elevator. And you have a pipeline that goes from that weight up in space down to the surface of the moon. And that space elevator, you just pump it in there, pump it up into a tank, and then you have that tank travel to a space elevator here on Earth as a pipeline that goes back to the Earth's surface, and you just have a transport that goes back and forth between the moon space elevator and the Earth space elevator, and that would probably be the cheapest, most affordable way of moving that material in large quantities. Thoughts on the Space Force? There was no need to create a Space Force. The Air Force already managed all the space traffic the U.S. generates, especially Defense Department-wise. I think the ultimate idea was we are going to have to militarize space, even though that goes against the 1967 Outer Space Treaty, that we will have space marines and things like that, because we're going to have a lot of very precious cargo moving around up there, and there's essentially no laws to protect any of that cargo. That if a Russian pirate, space pirate, wants to rob a Jeff Bezos gold shipment from an asteroid, they can, and there's nothing anyone can do about it, because international space law makes everyone who's up there a diplomat. So I think that's kind of like the ultimate idea. But the thing is that the Space Marine who's up there, you won't be able to have anyone deployed for more than like a year total in their entire existence in that force. So if you have somebody up in space for more than a year throughout the 4 to 20 years of their career in that department, they're physically going to be so messed up that all you'll be doing is then paying a fortune in veterans benefits to deal with their osteoporosis and bad eyesight and poor blood circulation and everything else that happens. So, yeah, I'd be curious to see. Space Force TV show on Netflix is hilarious, especially the first season. Just so freaking funny. I highly recommend it. Mupulin, they shorted their earnings call, Jamie. Why can't they short the FOMO leading into the dividend announcement? Are they finally running out of money? I think they can short it leading into that. They may not be able to if we do have some T35s come due and folks weren't able to do swaps. Swaps may start to get difficult as hedge funds lose liquidity. They might not have the people able to do those transactions, and they may be losing some steam on that. But what we see in the past is you can give a good quarterly report, and they'll just hammer the stock down. So we might see after hours on the second, they just hammer the stock down like crazy. Or we might see them announce a date of record, and a whole bunch of lending institutions go, give us our stocks back by the 25th of June or whatever it is. So we may see a lot of that happen. I'm very curious. We can make all the predictions we want, but whatever truth happens is the one that will happen when it happens, and the rest of us will just go, oh, that's how it went down. And then we'll Monday morning quarterback and be like, oh, so obvious. So obvious that was how it was going to happen. I've been spit polishing the crystal ball, trying to look into the future, and I'm just as confused as all of you. Okay. Guitar stuff. Houston. Happy birthday. Should be big. Not squeezing this week make us concerned about GME dividend. Well, here's the thing: is that Be Big is a penny stock. GameStop is not. So I think there's a different demand on the stock than there would be if a stock that's worth $100 announces a dividend. That may have more swing with recalls. I would have thought we would have seen some recalls happen with Be Big, but it didn't look like anybody cared. So that I find that kind of interesting. Yeah. Man, oh shoot, and the course had just reset. Man, I just realized there's 430 of you hanging out here at this ungodly hour. So it's 5 a.m., 6 a.m. in Europe, so I only have maybe one or two of you weirdos. And the rest of you, what are you doing up so late? The Oat Milk Man, still the most threatening name in the entire world. Do you think there's an untapped potential in many old electronics for precious metals? Oh, dude, so much. I recycle the stuff myself. I've got a garage full of old electronics I need to get through once I can get my roommate's crap out of there. But yeah, there's gold, platinum, silver, copper, rare earths, all sorts of stuff in all those materials. The older they are, the more there are, because we've developed finer, smaller technology. We can use gold plating on things rather than solid gold because gold got so expensive. You couldn't use it for solid stuff anymore. But if you have electronics from the 70s and 80s, holy smokes, do those things have a lot of gold in them. Just a ridiculous amount. To the point where, you could buy, if you were to buy like 1 ton, 1,000 kilograms of, we're going to the calculator. Right here. Calculator. Turn off the Google Earth. Boom. Okay. If you're to buy 1,000 kilograms of 486 computer chips, if you can find that many. So 1,000 kilograms, that is, it's 0.11 per chip, 18 chips per kilogram. Sorry, I got to do 18 chips per kilogram. 18,000 chips times 0.11 grams per chip. So that's 1,980 grams. What's a gram of gold selling for right now? 1 gram of gold price. $58. Okay, so where'd my calculator go? There it is. $58. So you can do $114,000 in just gold out of 1 ton of computer chips. So 1,000 kilograms, a metric ton. That's pretty good. You can grind up and go through that many chips. You can probably grind that many chips in one day. Set up enough vats. Probably cost you a couple thousand in nitric acid to get all the silver and everything else out. And then another couple thousand in hydrochloric acid to make aqua regia to get that out. So in a week, you could have $114,000. Divide that by. Oops, I want to do 1,800. So that's 63 ounces of gold. And and that is 5.3 pounds of gold in today's dollars. That's a good brick. 63 ounces, 5.31 pounds. So in essentially maybe a week, 10 days worth of work, you could make yourself $114,000 in gold if you get your hand on 1,000 kilograms of 46 computer chips. And then, the older the chips, the more gold that's in them. That doesn't count motherboards, RAM chips, old graphics cards, you name it. All that stuff has tons of gold. TV sets. They've all full electronics. Old cell phones, newer cell phones, not as much. They have more rare earths. Rare earths are a little harder to process. So, but it's you can get a lot out. You can buy those things for probably $60 a kilogram. Let me go back here 1 second. Let me see how much it's going to cost you if you want to buy open market. Probably buy 46 chips for $60 a kilogram. So you're looking at $60,000 as initial investment to make $114,000 in 10 days of work. So you have a profit of $55,000, somewhere thereabouts, right? So you have 60,000. Whoops, clear. 60,000, right? Minus the 114,000. So you have $54,000. Yeah, about $54,000 profit, 10 days worth of work. That's not so bad considering most other businesses look for 9 to 10% profit. Getting almost 50% profit out of that is pretty darn good. So, yeah, it's possible. I mean, also do that many computer chips in your garage will probably be really toxic and poisonous. Your neighbors will hate you from the smell of all the hydrogen sulfide. So you might want to find an industrial site and some sort of filter and scrubber, and then your costs go through the roof. So, but if you have an industrial site and you can do this stuff in bulk, where you can do thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds a week, then you're just rolling in money. You're fine. Scott Lumley, happy birthday, Houston. What are your favorite comedians? Oh, man, I have a lot that I just find friggin' hilarious. My favorite comedian right now might be Niles Abston. That dude has a hell of a batting average. He's going to be playing in Seattle on the 19th, but I don't get to go. I've got another function I got to go to. That's a bummer. He's probably my favorite right now. He's up and coming. He just had a little brief comedy special for Comedy Central done, I think, not too long ago, just filmed. I follow a lot of them on Twitter because they always crack good jokes, and that brightens your day no matter what. Who else would I put up there that's got great batting average? Patton Oswalt, of course. Michael Ian Black. Who's some other young up and comers? I can't remember everyone's names. I'm like, oh, that guy's real funny. Akilah Hughes. Who else is funny? I think she does more TV writing now than stand up. Yeah. Look at who I follow on Twitter. You'll see a bunch. I can't remember all their names at the moment. Jimmy D, my $2 Metamot calls for September are doing swimmingly. That's a good call to have, especially when it rockets past $2, and then you're going to just be like printing. Every dollar it goes up, $100 per call. It's always nice when that happens. Johnny, third time's a charm, and an old spectrolite quarry at this location, somewhere really far north, looks like in Canada, on the east coast of Canada. Okay. All right, spectrolite quarry. Oh no, so this is wrong. That's Europe. Far north in Europe, somewhere in Finland. There's a quarry. Now it looks like it's a place people probably go swimming or something. What do they else got on here? I don't know. Spectrolite. Spectrobes. Spectrolite. Oh, labradorite. Okay. We call it labradorite here. Spectrolite in Finland is a hard, rare variety of labradorite, only from Finland. Difference between spectrolite and labradorites is that Finnish... where'd you go? Is it... Finnish spectrolite labradorite has considerably richer, stronger, larger colorfulness caused by its opaque base color as other labradorites. Oh. Okay. Those are very beautiful. Oh, you guys can't see because I don't have... Duh. All right, turn you off. Turn you on. Click on that spectrolite. Done. So these guys. Labradorites are cool. They're a pegmatite stone. They can have these kind of like oil slick sheens to them. Originally found in Labrador. There are some east coast of the United States, some quarries or mines. I was reading about a baseball player who might have been Sports Illustrated like 10 years ago. There was an article about the wealth made by kind of like journeyman baseball players who really didn't, they weren't stellar. They didn't stand out. They did their job. They whatever. And like these, they finished a career with $9 million in earnings over a 5 or 10 year career that wasn't too notable. And one of the guys had made money and he bought a farm in Connecticut and for like his dad or something. And on the farm was a huge labradorite discovery. And all of a sudden, they had like $1 billion value on all the labradorite that was on this farm that he bought in Connecticut. And he went from journeyman baseball player to mineral mogul, all because of just the happenstance of buying the right farm and the right piece of land, and then having someone went to go perk the land and discovered rock or something. But these are gorgeous, spectrolites. Spectrolite. I didn't know that there was a Finnish version that they called spectrolite that was crazier than the others. I also met a guy who was a Canadian who did his entire kitchen. Like all his kitchen counters were labradorite counters rather than like marble or whatever. And those were really cool. But right on. Also, that's all quarry in Finland where they dug that stuff. Groovy. So, is it all gone? Can you dig here and get some? Can you dig over there and get some? Why didn't they dig any more? Now it's all full of water. Now it's just a pond. Trying to keep water out of these places is probably brutal. Because you can see how many lakes there are. Groundwater is probably a foot below where you dig out here. There's so many ponds and lakes. Look at that. Look how many there are. They're everywhere. It's just pockmarked with these lakes. You go shallow to shallow depression. You are in the groundwater. Emerald Nutmeg, AMC 9123, then 197.65 on the daily chart. Is that the level 2s? What is going on? What? 80? What are you talking about? What am I missing? Emerald Nutmeg? I can't scroll back far enough to see. I got blocked. So, but that sounds nuts. John Vasquez, once MOAS is here, what's the best indicator to watch for guidance as to when to start selling shares? Thank you. That's really hard to know. My plan is to look at daily volume and add it all up. Without the dividend, I was thinking when you get to 1 billion shares sold, when the price is absolutely ridiculous, then we might be approaching the infinity pool and the price going really nuts. If you wait too long after that, you might not have the chance to sell at the price you want, and it'll be on the downswing and the buying computers will turn off. Now, with the dividend, depending on how much that dividend is, we may have to multiply that by a lot. So if the dividend is 7 for 1, we have to multiply it by 8. So it might be 8 billion shares we're looking for. In that case, that could take weeks for them to get through that many. Because the biggest volume we've seen is we did what 190 million on one of those days during the baby squeeze. So we did was it 190 million? Yeah, something like 3 times the float, or close to it during the baby squeeze, and that means if you're at 8 billion shares, you're at 45 days of trading to get to that level. That's 2 months worth of trading. So that could just draw this thing out. So my guess is they'll make the price so crazy, so fast to do volumes in the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of shares, if not more, to get this thing over with as fast as possible. Because you don't want this thing drawing out 45 trading days where the price is like $10,000, $100,000, $1 million a share for 45 days. No one's going to know how to comprehend that, and they're going to see the entire market as a weird joke. But if you have a splash of that, and they go, oh, that's a fluke. Oh, those people have made a lot of money. The people go, oh, lucky them, and they move on. But if it's like weeks of that, that's when trust in the markets is just going to plummet. People are going to take all their money out forever, and it's going to be crazy. You guys are giving me a lot of coordinates today. Fabrizio. Ancient alien tech. Now you got me confused. Confused? Curious. What? Having a stroke. Okay. We're in Africa. We're in... Oh, god damn it. You got me. I should have... Oh, no. You didn't take me to the Eye of Africa. Oh, you did take me that. God damn it. I got. Damn it. I had that coordinate memorized and I wasn't paying attention. 21 North, 11 West. I should know. Eye of Africa. It's been months since you guys got me on the Eye of Africa one. I've been scrolling past it. You guys, every once in a while, throw it in there, and I'm going to ignore it entirely. And this time I didn't. You got me the alien tech, and I did not pay attention. That, to me, is a bigger failing than a double intro, in my opinion. Collapsed ancient volcano. That's all it is. That's all it is. Okay. Drew, I was really hoping for the MMTLP dividend so I could buy more GME. Me too. It would be really nice to be able to, do 100 or 1,000 shares of GME based upon an MMTLP dividend. That would be sweet to be able to load that up on that. If you can get 1,000 shares of GME, I think you've guaranteed yourself being a millionaire. When it's all said and done. Because the price can go to $1,000 a share so easily. And you got $1 million. Done. Woohoo! You won. Awesome. Good job. And you won't have to think about it and wait and hold out. You can just be like, I'm done. I'm going to check my brain out. And then, if the dividend becomes something, you get 7,000 shares of GME or 8,000 or whatever. I think it's a very real possibility. I'd like to get to that level, but I don't have the money. Matt Strange, Houston, have you checked out the NVIDIA Stanford demo of holographic glasses for VR? Remind me of some recent stuff relating to metamaterials, R Fusion tech. Oh, no, I have not. I'll have to check that out. Holographic glasses. So are these VR or are they AR? The AR stuff I think is going to be the future. The glasses that you just put on and you can see in front of you, but they project images in front of your face. Microsoft's been promising their Microsoft AR glasses for 10 years now, after doing demo after demo after demo after demo, and they haven't released anything with them. I do worry about, I don't know how big of a worry it is, but I do, or at least wonder what impact augmented reality will have on people who are like schizophrenic. Like, if you already are seeing weird things and you put on glasses that now project weird things into your vision, what does that do to your brain? Speaking of glasses, I just realized mine are crooked. They're always crooked. It drives me off the wall. They're kind of broken. If I twist them too much, I'm afraid I'll break them even more. All right. I might have to work. What if they've done experiments on it? They should put some AR glasses on some schizophrenic people in some institutions to just see what their brains do. I'd be curious to see what happens. Amon, do you think it's fair that Wimbledon is banning Russian and Belarusian players this year? Yeah. I mean, yeah. You have to, kind of put some limits on the free travel of citizens from a warring nation. It's just kind of how it works. Sometimes that's what happens, and I'm sorry. But a lot of those Belarusian and Russian players are connected to oligarchs because who learns tennis? Rich people. So, you're probably just straight up banning the children of oligarchs if that's the case. So, yeah, that's what happens. Don't invade other countries if you want your players to play at Wimbledon. It's pretty easy. Rainier Colin, Houston, what are your thoughts on the Guardian article on global debt crisis and implication on the global south? Can dictators keep their seats when countries lack energy, food, and fuel? I think it depends on the country, because oftentimes the dictators will consolidate their seats and get even stronger because everyone else is so weak. And in some cases, they may lose it due to, civilian uprisings. So I think it's kind of split. You'll have those that consolidate power and get even stronger, and those that lose everything and get overthrown. So we'll probably see a split in that respect. And the global south is really going to be screwed this year because exports of wheat from Russia and Ukraine are what feed a lot of them. And that food's not going to be going around. So, yeah. Anthony Wilson, I never thought about it, but it's really weird. Huge animals like moose or mooses are in both Europe and in Canada very underrated threads. I mean, has anyone ever taken like a moose from Colorado and brought them to Finland and just see if, genetically they'll be like, yeah, you know what? You might be on a study abroad, but I'm a sexy European moose and you're into this. I'd be curious about that. Like in Canada and Alaska, we call them caribou, but in Norway, Finland, Sweden, they're called reindeer. Same animal. Caribou and reindeer are the same animal. If you didn't know that, you know that now. This happens to be geographically where they are. And I think it was this winter, somebody had put a tracker on a reindeer in Norway, and it found itself across the ice, ended up in Canada, and became a caribou. So that they do travel incredible distances. So, yeah. Billy. In your best estimate, how much time after MOAS before the dollar is worthless, and what safe havens do you see to preserve as much as possible besides gold, silver, crypto? There will be inflation. I don't think there's going to be hyperinflation as a result of MOAS. There'll probably be extended inflation, but it will be slowed by the fact that the rest of the economy will be in the shitter, and people won't be buying gasoline. They won't be going out to movies. They won't be doing other stuff that normally their consumer buying power would spread across. So prices will become competitive as a result of that. Housing prices will go down. Cars won't be purchased as much, just like we saw in 2009. They had to do all sorts of things to get people to buy cars. Right now, people are struggling to buy cars because they aren't available to do the semiconductor shortage. Euros? I know euros about to have parity with the US dollar. But remember, euros won't be printed at the same levels as the US dollar will for a MOAS situation. So if you can get to parity, right, that 1-to-1 US dollar to euro, and you sell for a cajillion US dollars, and you put those US dollars into euros at 1-to-1 parity, and the value of the dollar collapses, you may have just doubled your money right there. So that might be a way to preserve that wealth and combat runaway inflation if we do have that in the U.S. Not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but utilizing such arbitrage might be the way to go. Will Moas bring my chubs back? Yes, Jimmy. Be back in full force, and you won't know what to do with it. He'll just be like, play with me, and you'll be like, I'm so tired. But I'll be like, no, I'm back. And you're like, okay. Okay. Polly V, will Gmae squeeze before June 2nd? No. We might see a baby squeeze leading up to that due to some T35 dates, which I think someone calculated that T35 starts on the 25th, which is 9 days from now. That would be Wednesday next week would be when some of those T35s come due. So we might see something leading up to Labor Day weekend. Now remember, we often in the last year and a half have seen crazy price action on 4-day weeks. So it just happens to be kind of how it lines up. Thanksgiving, Labor Day, Martin Luther King holiday. Those 4-day trading weeks always have weird stuff happen. So the following week is Memorial Day, and Memorial Day last year prices went nuts, just started rocketing for everything. So if it repeats like last year, that's what we could see some of that. So if I can, I might try to get some either this Friday or next Monday, pick up some calls and just see where it goes. Play that gamble. I won't do them for weeklies. I'll probably get something that expires at the end of June or middle of July, somewhere in there, and play it, see where it goes. Why not? Especially if they keep the price pretty low for the next 5-6 trading days, then the implied volatility drops, the price of those calls drop, and you can pick up more of them. So I might roll that die, you do a little gambling. Okay. Anthony Wilson, CRT indoctrinates and pretends whites somehow have privilege. Since I'm a Jew that looks Mexican combined with growing up as a ward of the state, I would beg to differ. It's just a race hustle. Anthony, no, you're wrong. Critical race theory is basically criticizing racism. That's what it comes down to. Most people have no friggin' clue what it is and don't understand that it's actually something that's taught in law school and not taught to children. There isn't a kid in the country who's been taught critical race theory. Critical race theory is the idea that there is institutionalized racism in the United States, which there is, that affects every aspect of our society, from college admissions to police interactions to redlining of residential areas to implied bias into how to get your home appraised. There's all sorts of aspects that are historically been built into the framework of the United States of America. Why? Because we enslaved people based on their race for 400 years. That's why. And then when we freed them, we put institutions in place to keep them oppressed. The 13th Amendment that allows us to imprison them and then work them like slaves. Plessy versus Ferguson, Dred Scott, Jim Crow South, means testing for whether you're allowed to vote or not, segregated schools. That is what critical race theory is about. And we don't teach that to kids. Matter of fact, half the states in this country teach the War of Northern Aggression. That the Civil War, we don't call it the Civil War in half these states, we call it the War of Northern Aggression, was started by the Union against the South because the South wanted states' rights, which is fucking bullshit. The South attacked first. They're the ones that attacked Fort Sumter. Yay, not while I'm ranting, dog. And hey, not while I'm ranting. I'll yell at you too. Hey, stop it. That's right. And you have a big giant ball of fur hanging in your mouth. So the states' rights hand-wavy bullshit was about the states' rights to do what? To own other people. And they did not want to abide by, superseding federal law. They claim that the Ninth Amendment means that if it's not explicitly written in the Constitution, the state can do whatever the hell it wants. That's not what the interpretation... 10th Amendment, not Ninth. 10th Amendment. And the 10th Amendment is actually that if there happens to be not a federal law about this, the states can write their own law. And so we had to make the 14th and 15th Amendments so that we could have federal authority so that you could not write laws in opposition to federal law. So we had to coalesce that for everybody. And most folks just seem to think like, oh, they're going to teach about how white people and black people are going to make my fifth grader feel sad. Well, fuck you. People need to have feelings. People need to acknowledge their feelings. They need to recognize the past. That yes, there's injustices that happen in the past. There's injustices that happen now. And those injustices are being perpetrated by the systemic racism in this country. The fact that there are laws being codified right now against teaching your kids about critical race theory, something they're not learning in the first place, is proof that critical race theory is legitimate. The fact that they're making it so that you can't teach your kids about factual historical record means that they're correct when they say that critical race theory is about how the systems in place are designed to oppress other people. It's it's kind of hilarious that they proved the point of critical race theory by writing these systemically racist laws against teaching something that they weren't even teaching in the first place. Most kids can handle things much more metal than we want to give them credit for. They're playing brutal video games. They're watching RoboCop. They've seen it, done it, been there, done that. We don't have to hold their hands and be like, oh, I don't want to have to teach you about this horrible thing we did in the past because it might make you feel sad. You know what makes them feel sad? Everything. They're kids. They bump their knee and cry their eyes out. They get over it. If it turns out they get to 25 years old and they finally learn about something horrific like the American Civil War, that is when you have to watch out. That is when they go, oh, I'm fucking pissed now. Why'd you keep this from me? It's like, if your parents got divorced when you're little, yeah, it could screw you up a little bit. But if your parents get divorced when your youngest sibling graduates high school, that messes up your brain more than anything else. Because you realize that you were living a lie. That they were making this false bubble of security around you, and everything about it was a lie. Your parents hated each other's guts your entire childhood, and they waited. They're like, I'm going to stay together for the kids. And they pretended, and they faked it. And the minute that youngest kid graduated, your parents are like, all right, I fucking hate you, and I'm leaving. And those kids, they dive headfirst into piles of cocaine, and they go fucking nuts. Why? Because they were in too much of a bubble, and they didn't know how to handle anything adverse to the comfort of their life. And now, they're expected all of a sudden as an adult to have those tools when they were never presented with anything that was a character building in the first place. So you teach kids the truth. You teach them history. You teach what happened. You don't maybe have to go into all the gruesome details right away, like how, slave owners raped, beat, murdered, tortured their slaves. You don't have to learn about how, Thomas Jefferson was repeatedly raping his underage slave girls, things like that. You might be able to say those a little bit later, but you can also, what you can do is you can explain that owning other people is wrong, codifying laws that made them less than a human being was wrong, and that the current Supreme Court in the United States taking away people's rights to freedom and saying that we don't need things like the Voting Rights Act anymore is systematically hurting us as a nation and removing the rights from people by taking away the regulations that guaranteed those rights for those who've been maligned for so long. We need, as a country, to face the ugliness. If you never face the ugliness, then you not only repeat it, but you make it worse. And we really, really, really need to face the ugliness in this country. And Big Dog, not right now. Because we're about to do some really horrible stuff to each other. We are. This Supreme Court is awful. And if they do get rid of Roe on the basis that women are not protected by the Fourth Amendment over their own bodies, then no one is protected by the Fourth Amendment to unreasonable search and seizure. You do not have privacy in this country anymore. Basically, this would be the Supreme Court saying that none of you are protected by the Fourth Amendment. None of you. I don't care what race, creed, religion, orientation you are, you do not have protections anymore. And that is a really, 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 really bad path to go down. We already have problems with privacy in the U.S. based upon our digital lives as it is. But if you've got a Supreme Court based on their religious fundamentalism arguing that women aren't protected by the Fourth Amendment, then no one is. And that's bad. That means they're coming for gay and trans people. They're coming for interracial couples. They're going to get rid of loving, which means, my stepmom and dad's marriage would be illegal based upon, the precedent they're laying down. This is slippery slope crap that will regress our country and make us less safe. We'll be worse off. And I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that people are cheering this. Let's face it, the folks who use abortion the most are the folks who are members of religion that champion right to life. You're more likely to get an abortion if you're Catholic or evangelical than any other demographic in the United States. Why? Because you're most likely to go to a school that doesn't teach you sex ed. You're less likely to have prophylactics and contraceptives available. And when you get pregnant, you're going to be forced to marry the person who got you pregnant, and they don't want that. Why? Because everyone likes sex. Everyone loves sex. They love having sex. Your brain turns off, your knees get weak, and you just do it. Damn the consequences. Why? Because you're not thinking about time. It is literally passion. That's all it is. And, all these Republicans, they've all forced their mistresses to have abortions, every single one of them. There's so many people in this country whose lives are better now because they weren't raising a kid when they're 17 years old, and they don't talk about it, and they won't admit it to you, but it's true. In public, they'll be like, oh, abortion is bad, but they'll secretly go get it if they get knocked up. Just like we have so many people who are anti-gay, and, they're on Grindr all weekend long, and they show up to church Sunday morning, and they're like, oh, the gays are bad, and they should be smited by God, but really they're just getting rammed all weekend. There's a certain hypocrisy that people will escape from in private. And guess what? If you get rid of Roe, you are saying the Fourth Amendment doesn't offer that privacy anymore. So all those folks in their private lives who've been living secret lives like Ernst Röhm and Larry Craig, and I can't remember all their names of like weird anti-gay far-right people, but they're voting for the Leopard Ate My Face party, and then they're going to be complaining about their face getting eaten off. It's you guys got me on rant tangent, but yeah, we do have privilege, man. I've got all the privilege in the world. I don't get pulled over for driving while white. My PhD brother-in-law, who's a college president, gets pulled over twice a month for being black and driving a Lexus. He's got to explain to them, like, hey, I run an entire college. I've got a PhD and 2 master's degrees. Why are you pulling me over this car? We thought it might be stolen. My name's on the registration. Quit pulling me over. Doesn't happen. I don't get a brick through my window for being a black guy in a middle class neighborhood. He does. That's privilege. like, you know, it's a reality that so many of us don't face, and there has to be. I don't know how to teach people to care about other people. I don't know how to do it. There's some people who just don't give a shit. And I don't know how to teach you to care about others. I don't know how to teach you that wearing your mask in public isn't just to protect you, but to protect those people around you. Not everyone has a fully functioning immune system. Not everyone is young and healthy. You don't know what story people are going through. So do your best to be a good member of society. I don't know how to explain it to you. I don't know how to explain it to folks to care about others. There's that whole walk a mile in people's shoes. There are folks who just don't possess empathy. They just don't have it. They will never understand until the shit's the fan and all of a sudden they're the one being screwed over. It's just fucking care about people, man. It's not hard. You don't have to be a selfish dick all the time. Like, you just don't. You can be a good person and do your thing and recognize that somebody else might be struggling along the way. There was a blow up in my family because my oldest brother kind of became a Trumper racist. And, he tried to place blame on things like mixed race marriages and basically say that my little sister was an abomination. And I can't let shit like that stand. I don't care if you're related to me or not. He didn't have a hard life because he was white. And he tries to say like, oh, I grew up with hardship. There's holes in my shoes when I was growing up. First of all, no, there wasn't. Second of all, there's a difference between hardship and privilege. And you didn't have holes in your shoes because our family was kept from owning a house based on their race and thus kept from having a job that paid well or forced out of college or whatever based on your race. You had every opportunity in your entire life to achieve whatever you wanted, and any hardship he had was based on his own personal choices. He quit being an airline pilot and started living in a teepee in the woods with no job. And he's like, I don't have any money. Oh, I have hard as everyone else. You quit. You had the life. You had the waterfront home and the really cool 1955 Thunderbird and the cool airline job, and you quit. And then you live in a teepee in the woods and you go, life sucks. Life's really hard. Okay. That wasn't because of anyone else's doing. It wasn't because you didn't have privilege. You took that privilege, you crumpled it up into a ball, and you threw it in the trash can, and you took a big giant dump on it and went, everyone else made it bad for me. I don't know how to deal with that crap. It's just fucking... If you have privilege in your life, use it to help others when you can. That's, I guess, my point. Is that some folks don't have the luxury, and just fucking be a good person. Quit being a dick. That's my thing. Just don't be a dick. All right. I lost 50 viewers right there. But Jesus. Fucking don't spout friggin' Nazi bullshit and then expect me to not point it out. Privilege exists. It does. And if you have it, don't be mad about it. Use it to help somebody else. There. It's over. My answer is over. I'm done. Oh. All right. Okay. Moving on. Project Sun, did you see where CERN's next task is to search for dark matter? No, but they won't find any. They just won't find any. Dark matter doesn't exist. And anyone who's looking for it isn't going to find it. That's how it works. You can't find something that doesn't exist. And they've been looking for it using germanium detectors and like the Homestead mine in lead South Dakota. And they haven't found it yet because it doesn't exist, because they've been doing the calculations wrong. And I may have talked about this in the past, but let's go Spectralite, go in there, turn off the Google Earth. Dumbbell Galaxy, or the Barbell Galaxy. Oh no, Barbell Galaxy, sorry. I always get in too many L's. No, that's Spiral Galaxy. Give me the right ones. Globe Radio Galaxy. There we go. Okay. So this galaxy here, this is a radio galaxy. Inside this galaxy, in the center of this thing, is a really supermassive active black hole. So you may have had multiple galaxies collide, and as their center of mass gets pulled into the center as they collide with each other, a giant supermassive black hole that could be millions, sometimes billions of times the size of our own sun, is actively sucking in materials. And these things are spinning crazy fast. It's like throwing a bunch of stuff into an active garbage disposal and spitting stuff out. So out of the poles, because there's a really crazy magnetic field, out of the poles you get these magnetic vortices that come out and sort of shoot like lasers. And they take charged particles and they fire them out either end. So huge amounts of gas and dust get spit out over, like, we're talking like hundreds of thousands or millions of light years to either side. And they empty themselves of all this gas and dust. And that stuff floats out into space and gets really cold because it's less dense. There's nothing to heat them up. And they lose the ability to emit and absorb wavelengths because they're so cold. They may have electrons flying off of them and stuff like that. And this is where the excess density of the universe is. This is the dark matter. And a lot of scientists don't put two and two together, that when you see, dark matter fields around these galaxy clusters, it's just this crap that's been spit out billions of years ago by active black holes in the center of these galaxies when they were forming. And so all its material got spit out, and now it's just orbiting the center of mass of these big systems. And you can look at galaxies like our own. So we go Spiral Galaxy. Okay, so you got Spiral Galaxy. Something like this. This is probably M51 or something. Oh, it's just a representation of Milky Way. So we're sort of like 2/3 of the way out on one of the outer edges here. And you can use Newton's laws and calculate the orbital velocity of objects, where they are, how fast they need to orbit to maintain their position around this system. And it should fall off the further out you get, because the further away you get, the less gravitational pull there is, so less likelihood you can fall into the center of mass. So in a normal, like, Newtonian system, like our planet and solar system, you have to travel faster closer to the sun than you do further away, or else you're going to fall into the sun. And what they did was they did the math and they looked at it, and all of a sudden these objects are going a lot faster outside than expected. So there must be dark matter, and they concluded there must be dark matter in the halo of the galaxy that causes things to go faster. But that also is bad math, because any mass outside of the center of mass, oh Jesus Christ, big dog, shut up. Any mass outside that center of mass does not contribute to the velocity needed to orbit something. But if you take, we should probably do this as file, new one of those. We're gonna do paint here real quick. I'm gonna go turn off this one, right? Okay, we're in paint, and I need to make you bigger. Come on, click. No, don't save. Just make a new one. There we go. Make that bigger. Oops. There we go. Okay. So if we have ourselves, I'm going to make this a little bit thicker. We just turn the galaxy into sort of, I'm really bad artiste, but kind of a cylinder, right? And it's a cylinder that's 1,000 light years thick and 100,000 light years across. So 100,000 light years across, dink, and 1,000 light years thick, which is, it's a big, long, thin galaxy. And inside of it would be the spiral and all the other things. If we were to calculate the density of that galaxy, oftentimes a scientist will just count the number of stars and be like, oh, there's 150 billion stars. The average star weighs 1 star, so that galaxy should weigh 150 billion solar masses. Done. And then they calculate the orbits of all these planets, and they're like, oh, these things are orbiting much faster. There must be all this hidden mass inside the star system, inside the galaxy. But star systems themselves have a very dense object in the center, but are a huge vacuum throughout the sphere of influence inside that star system, because the stars are propagating all this radiation outwards, which is creating an outward pressure, blowing all this material out of the solar system. And what they discovered was when Voyager 2 left our solar system, it entered a realm of space that's like 40,000 times denser than our solar system. So there's 40,000 times more material per cubic centimeter or per cubic meter than there is inside of our own solar system, because all that material blew out from our sun and is now in the interstellar medium. So if you calculate the density of this object based on the interstellar medium that the Voyager 2 probe encountered when it left our solar system, then all of a sudden, this becomes 100 times denser, 10 times denser, and weighs just as much as we expected it should, and that means all the stars were traveling the correct speed. So dark matter isn't a thing. There's no dark matter anywhere. And when I go to like American Astronomical Society and I do the math on this, the people like to argue with me, but they can't prove math wrong. I show them that the galaxy is as dense as it's supposed to be, and these galaxy clusters are as dense as they ought to be without any dark matter. The dark matter has just been this phantom, weird, exotic material they've been looking for a long time that doesn't exist. And to prove that it doesn't exist in any quantifiable realm is that we've never seen a star pass through what would be an empty void of space and all of a sudden change in mass because it gathered up all this dark energy. The Earth doesn't magically pass through, dark matter. The Earth doesn't suddenly pass through dark matter clouds, become exceedingly dense, because dark matter is attractive. It's gravity. That's all it is. It should be attracted to other gravity wells, and it should go into. We don't see our sun all of a sudden become more massive because we pass through a section of dark matter. It's we've never seen it because it doesn't happen. So that's another reason why dark matter doesn't exist. So you can set up all the detectors you want. You can do all the collisions you want. It's never going to appear. Dark matter isn't a thing, man. We need to stop wasting our time on it. Okay, so there you go. Got me off on another tangent. Do all the tangents in the world. Okay. Michael Bonneville, would it not be such a bad idea to invest in some wheat stock? Probably wheat futures is what you want to invest in. There are companies that deal wheat, but you probably want to look at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and look at wheat futures. Because wheat futures are, I'm buying, 1,000 bushels of wheat or whatever, PEX or whatever they use, and that should be delivered on November 2022. I'm going to pay you $1,000 now, thinking that by 2022 that stuff is going to be worth $10,000, or by November or whatever. So that's what you do with those futures. You can get delivered possibly cheaper than you would otherwise. What are you doing over there? You're just knocking two bones together, man. I'm going to take one of those bones. You don't clack the other one together and make just god-awful sounds. There we go. Okay. You can do your thing now. All right. That's what I probably want to look at. Brent Irwin, well, I, for one, not happy now. I got the 90-day notice that as of March 2022, you you can no longer hold shares in RRSP and TFSA of metamaterial for TD. This is crap. They will gladly take your shares for 0. Are they doing expert market? Is that what you're saying? I think that's what they're kind of doing on Fidelity as well. They kind of just put it back to expert market if it's going to be traded to like sell only and not buy. But they were letting people buy if they called and said, I really want to buy. And I'm like, okay, all right. But yeah, all right. Ferris Mirage, not sure how to vote in the meeting for GME and AMC. Of course, I want dividend from GME, but what else do I have to vote on? Not sure how to vote. Vote however you want. Most of it is people unopposed running for the various boards. I voted no on all the board members for AMC. But GME, all those board members are not people who work for BCG and Citadel and stuff. So I was like, yeah, whatever. Ryan Cohen, trust those guys. I will trust Ryan Cohen with those decisions, and those guys can be on the board. EclipseTickets.com. Hey, Houston, did you see the lunar eclipse last night? No, it was pissing rain last night, as it always does during such events. So you look up, just raining an inch an hour. Just absolutely just raining so hard last night. So no, didn't get to see it here in Seattle. Julianne, the evil part of GMOs is forcing poor farmers to buy seeds every year instead of saving them like they did for thousands of years. It's all about profit, that and allowing the use of more pesticides. I agree with you on that. The fact that the seeds don't produce plants that germinate other seeds, that they're sterile, is really wrong. And they'll sue if, some of their seed gets mixed in. The famous case was a farmer in Manitoba, I think, who a seed truck drove by and Roundup Ready canola rapeseeds blew off the truck and into the edge of his field by the road, and some canola grew up that was Roundup Ready. And the Monsanto guys came by, tested, like, hey, you didn't pay us for this seed, you stole from us. He's like, what the hell are you talking about? I didn't buy any of your seed. And like, hey, but you have this seed growing in your farm field, you owe us money. He's like, I don't owe you shit. And the Canadian government ruled in favor of Monsanto, saying that he had to individually go pluck out any seeds, any plants growing in his field that happened to be blow off of another truck. It's total garbage. Yeah, that stuff's stupid. It should be against the law to sell sterile plants, sterile seeds that don't produce other seeds that can plant. That's just evil. I totally agree. Oh, and the chat just reset again. I bet when I scroll up, there's going to be people complaining about me complaining. Fried Tater Explosion Aloha from Wahoo. I approve of you increasing the use of dark shows. Very thoughtful. Well, my pleasure. Okay. All right. Oh, we are 10 minutes to Houston being done for the evening. So I am going to scroll down quite a ways here and probably skip past a bunch of people being mad at me. But Ham Fingers, what stops hedge funds from just giving us fake shares when the stock split comes? Because hedge funds are not who gives the shares. It's brokers who gives the shares. And so that's the thing, is that when hedge funds sell naked, they aren't selling a share. And when it comes to clearing between like two brokerages, the broker that is supposed to clear the shares to the other broker and doesn't have them has to steal shares from their customers and hand those over. And that's how synthetics are created. So if you end up with synthetic shares somehow via the dividend, that's going to be because the broker created those synthetic shares and put a clock on them for the hedge fund that resulted in those shares being created. And that's why it might take 3 months after the dividend has been issued before any action happens and forced buying happens. I think in this case, because it is going to be such a central focus for so many millions of people around the world, that the SEC and the DOJ may need to keep a close eye on what happens to people's accounts if they don't have actual physical shares in their account and they've got these synthetics they were given, and then no one is brought to forced to close out these positions and provide the actual shares. That, I think, is probably a big area the DOJ is looking at. And probably GameStop is issuing these shares saying to the DOJ, like, watch what happens. I want you to watch and see what happens. Keep a close eye on this. Because they've already been subpoenaed a bunch of times. They had to give over stuff about short selling and data. And we know that Citadel and hedge funds have RICO investigations against them right now by the DOJ. So they're watching. They're watching everything. But we got a bunch of like cokehead frat bros that, you know, got their Colombian marching powder, and they're just so friggin' balls out confident that they can get away with anything. And for most of their lives, they have. So I'm really curious to see what happens. Really curious to see what happens. Okay. Kronk, cops track the race if everybody they pulled over. He's not getting pulled over twice a month because at that point it would be tracked too many times. Yeah, you can say that, but they don't track it. Believe me. They don't. There are so many white supremacists in police forces. It is crazy. The FBI has been warning about it for 20 years that local law enforcement has been attracting and actively internally recruiting white supremacists into their ranks. I don't trust cops, period. Our own police force in my little town had so much awful corruption for so long. You know, they were running protection scams for brothels. They were trafficking girls through an illegal speakeasy. They murdered a mentally ill man, then tried to cover it up. And it just so happened their bad luck was that mentally ill man's brother-in-law was the head of the local FBI bureau. And so they got to the bottom of it. And the cop who did the shooting had shot and killed somebody else for the LAPD. And the LAPD was basically like, hey, you can either resign or we've got to do this investigation and charge you for murder. And he resigned and got a job with my police department. And then murdered somebody else. So if we want to solve stuff with cops, what we need is a federal agency whose entire job it is to investigate police malfeasance, and that no one in that federal agency should have ever been employed by any law enforcement agency ever except by that agency doing the work. And that agency does nothing but investigate police malfeasance across the country in local jurisdictions, and they, and only they, can prosecute those crimes in federal court, not in local court. Because one of the biggest problems we have is that if, say, I don't know, a local cop murders somebody, what they do is they, oh, you know what, we can't investigate this because we're too close to it. So we're going to have our buddies over in the neighboring town run the investigation for us. And what happens is the buddies in the neighboring town go, oh, investigate them, nothing happened, oh well. And the prosecutors themselves refuse to press any charges. Why? Because the prosecutors are dependent upon those police officers bringing them crimes to prosecute and to testify on their behalf. And so if the local prosecutor loses the trust and the backing of the police department, then they don't have any crimes to try, and then they lose their elections. So you need an outside superior agency that's job is to investigate and prosecute these crimes that is not tied at all to any local jurisdiction. And that is probably the cure for police malfeasance that we have in the United States. So we definitely need something along those lines. There was talk in Washington about creating sort of an agency at the state level to do just that, but it kind of went nowhere. But I do think we need like a federal agency, because there's 400 people in this chat right now, And I bet many of you Americans have had a really shitty experience with a police officer at some point. I know I have. And I'm a middle class white dude who doesn't drink or smoke. Like, there's no reason for me to have a bad interaction with police because I don't do anything cool enough to warrant interaction with the police. But, you know, a friend of mine got a heart transplant a few years ago. And, you know, he lives on disability. He really can't leave his home, especially during COVID, because of the drugs he gets put on. Basically eliminate his immune system. So his immune system doesn't attack his new heart, right? And he's stuck in his home most of the time. So a few years ago, and this, I just remind you, this friend of mine is a former police officer. He was a police officer in Norman, Oklahoma when he was going to grad school. He woke up in the middle of the night to the elderly man being attacked inside his home by somebody. And so he yells, "Hey, leave him alone. I'm calling the cops." And this dude comes upstairs, starts kicking the shit out of my friend who, you know, new heart. It takes a long time for the brain and heart to connect and spool up and make the energy you can fight back. So he's getting his ass kicked by this guy. Cops finally show up. Turns out the dude just been released from prison, was still out on parole for attacking somebody else. And he was drinking against the law. Part of his parole is no drinking. He was hammered and just starting fights. Just broke into this old guy's house, started kicking the shit out of him for no reason. Because my friend called the cops, like, "I'm going to kick the shit out of this guy too." The cops refused to arrest him. They said, "Oh, you know, we're just going to let him sleep it off. You know, if you want anything, you have to go get a restraining order." My friend's like, "How the fuck am I supposed to get a restraining order? The court is 9 miles away. I can't drive. I can't go anywhere." So he's got to figure out this whole program to go and gets this restraining order and takes the buses, and he's not supposed to be on the bus, and, you know, shows up 2 weeks later to get the restraining order made permanent. Of course, the other guy doesn't show up, so he gets the restraining order made permanent. And the next day, this dude breaks into his house, starts beating him up again. Manages to call the cops. Cops come, still won't arrest him. And it's discovered that they don't want to arrest the guy because he's a Bainbridge Island resident. And if you arrest people from Bainbridge Island, it makes our crime numbers go up. So they don't want to arrest him, even though he's violated parole, he's violated a restraining order, he's attacking people and committing assault. They just don't want to, we just don't want to bother arresting him. But if somebody comes from outside the town and commits a crime, they'll shoot the fucker. They don't care. Like, they'll arrest him, they'll haul him off to jail because it's crime from outside our community. So the only way my friend was spared from this dude is that guy got drunk in the town next door, and that police department would gladly arrested him because it didn't count towards their local crime statistics. It was crime from outside of town. This type of crap and juking the stats is just bonkers, man. Like, the police didn't want to arrest him because it would make our crime stats go up, which would hurt maybe real estate values in the town. Or you could just, you know, do your job and protect the citizenry. I don't know. I had a guy who messaged me my mother's home address, described her home in excruciating detail, and said that he was on his way right now to go rape her. I called the police and said, "Hey, this is what's happening. This guy is on his way to my mom's house to go rape her right now." And the cops didn't even do a welfare check or even make a police report. They couldn't be bothered. Oh, whatever. The dude who made that threat had gone to prison twice for assault. Like, this dude was a guaranteed criminal, and the police didn't do anything. They couldn't be bothered. So, you know, what are we paying these guys for? Well, if they can't protect you, what's their job? What's their purpose? Is their purpose just to, like, you know, I don't know, pull over whoever they profiled and make their life a living hell? Because that seems to be it, man. Like, I don't know. I'm so disheartened by the ineffectual bureaucracy of police in America. It's disgusting. We shoot too many people. We arrest too many of the wrong people. We don't protect people when they should be protected. We you know, use the pretense and power and authority of police officers to basically create organized crime in communities all over the United States. It's a job that attracts people with personality disorders that don't get weeded out. There's codified into precedent is the fact that police departments can make sure that no one with an IQ above 105 can become a police officer. So we have got dumb sociopaths becoming police officers. And they do it with, in Washington State, it's 700 hours of training to become a police officer. And it's 2,000 hours of training to become a barber. Like, where are our priorities there? I could have been cutting my own hair for 20 years. No one trained me. Like, come on, man. All right. Get me ranting again. Don't even realize my... Yeah. Cops basically investigate themselves and find themselves innocent all the time. Okay. All right. I'll try to skip past the people trying to piss me off, give me more rants. All right. I'm going to go down to the bottom here and do a couple more questions, and then that'll be it for the evening. Okay. Oh, you guys are really trying to get me to go on a rant, aren't you? All right, let's skip that. Frozen State production. How would interdimensional travel work? The process. I am not of the ilk that thinks that interdimensions exist. I don't believe in multiverse. I'm not a string theorist. I don't think that there's multiple dimensions or that multiple dimension universes exist the same space, but we just can't see them. So I don't think it's a process that can happen. And if it were, I honestly don't know how you would do it. I'm sure a string theorist would say, oh, you should change the vibrations of those tiny little constituent particles, but I don't know else how that would work. Okay. Daphne, where's the hot boys and girls who need them? They haven't shown up in weeks. I wonder if they finally ran out of accounts. Where are the hot boys and girls? They were like my most devoted viewer at one point. Yeah. Okay. Oh, here we go. And Robert Krebs. I'm at work in Everett right now. I think you're cool. Hope to meet you. I have no interest in your mother. Can't imagine the mind that would. Yeah, there you go. Well, my mom's a wonderful lady, but, you know, she's an old woman with 2 new hips. Okay. Thank you, Robert. My dad used to work up there at Everett for the Navy, and then finally got a job doing the same work here in Bangor, closer to home, so you don't have to drive 400 miles a week. It's excellent. All right. POCA CRT is taught in school. Shake my head. No, it's not. POCA, CRT is a theory that's taught in law school, and that's where it's not taught in schools. All right, Jimmy D, Houston. The Ape Jimmy saga is genuinely obscene and addicting. Why do you think? Who do you think will be the first to sincerely and genuinely expose in depth among mainstream media? Frontline, John Oliver. I've been waiting for John Oliver to do a report on this. I think this would be right up his alley. Is naked short selling? I think he doesn't have to talk about GME. He can just talk about naked short selling in general, dating back to the early 90s to present day. And maybe touch on why people talk about GME and AMC and stuff like that in there. But this would be very apt for John Oliver to do one of his shows on. Frontline could do a much more in-depth version, and they should. Yeah. I wonder. We've got a few that will mention it on like CNBC, a couple on Fox Business, but even then they don't talk about GME. They only talk about AMC, which I find weird. GME is the catalyst. We all know GME is the catalyst, and they only kind of like, oh yeah, well GME is a thing, but they talk AMC, 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 AMC all the time, which I do think is very weird. Yeah, so, I do wonder who will. John Oliver, I know you're watching my show right now because you can't help yourself. You love watching my show, but you should probably do a segment of your show or the topic of your show one evening on naked short selling. Just talk about naked short selling in general and how it has stolen trillions of dollars from people over the years and destroyed many, many, many companies and lost millions of people's jobs. So that would be an excellent topic for you to talk on. And if you just happen to mention GameStop and the other players in here, that would be wonderful. Okay. Aaron Salentine, so when we hit the 82 days of utilization on June 2nd and start running, then on June 3rd, Chinese assets will evaporate out of existence. Do you think this is endgame, and how do we play this out? Ooh. I mean, how we play it out is... How it plays out is we just sit and wait. That's the easiest part. We have the easy part. We sit and wait, and we wait for the price to go bonkers. And then when it's bonkers enough for us, we go, all right, let's sell. Yeah. That's the easy part. How it plays out is if a lot of these funds institutions have significant holdings in these Chinese bonds that will no longer count towards assets under management, they're going to have to find assets elsewhere, which means they're going to have to either sell off their Chinese bonds, it's going to cause Chinese bonds to drop even more, even lower than they already have been, or it's going to be that they get cash infusions from outside to meet margin requirements. And that is a big problem because that cash doesn't exist anymore. That we are in a liquidity crisis right now, and we are losing the ability to generate that kind of cash. Remember, $11 trillion so far has evaporated. 11 trillion. That is half of the U.S. GDP, third of the U.S. GDP, somewhere in there. Oh, you want your blanket on again. We're almost done, monkey. You can just do your thing. And you lost it because you keep standing on your blanket. You can't go under your blanket if you're on it. It's like trying to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. So it's going to be weird to see where they can raise money from or how they're going to get it. I don't know if they can. Yeah. Unpaid overtime. Do you think any of them unwind their Chinese bond positions? Yeah, they're going to have to. They're going to have to generate capital somehow. And at least cash you can use against margin if you can't use Chinese bonds. And they can't use their penny stocks anymore because a lot of those OTC stocks are done. They can't be used as their assets. Yeah. Jonathan wants to know, is this depression level? Maybe? I mean, we still haven't ticked the box of a lot of things that are going to happen. NASDAQ and Dow are dropping. They're not dropping as far as they will. We fully haven't realized the extent at which these international bonds are going to eat up the capital of financial institutions. Because these financial institutions are refusing to write this debt off so far. They had every opportunity to write it off at the end of 2021, and they went, no, we're just gonna make a forbearance, so they can forbearance. We'll gather interest and they'll pay us off in 6 months. They're not gonna have any money in 6 months. Why? Because the Chinese real estate market is done. They've lost 50% of their business, the Chinese real estate market, and that's 1/3 of their entire economy. So 1/6 of their economy is gone in China. We still have huge supply chain issues that are about to get much, much worse. We have food insecurity. It's about to hit the entire globe. We have real estate markets in North America and Europe that are probably going to crash really hard. both commercial and residential. The corporate debt bubble. We can see this HYG ETF is just collapsing. It's down 15% since the beginning of the year. Corporate bonds are, a lot of them are going to become junk bond status, aren't going to get paid back. They're going to be removed from assets under management as well, counting towards margin requirements. There's going to be a cascade, I think, coming as more and more of this bad news starts to get realized, especially in the public, and it's going to be brutal. It's going to take us years to climb out of this, because this is the comeuppance that should have happened naturally in 2020, and we staved it off with $16 trillion in printing. And now that inflated bubble on top of something that already should have collapsed is going to hit us even harder now. Okay. Call him up. Houston, talk to John Oliver. Okay. All right. It's 11:11 here. It's a good time to log off and head out. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Sorry, you got me into going on some rants tonight, so I was more ranting Houston than anything else. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. I've got some meetings until probably 3 in the afternoon on Wednesday. So it might be an afternoon, early evening show on Wednesday. So that's what we'll look for. And then I'll probably do a Twitch stream tomorrow night and play some GeoGuessr. So if you guys are up late on Tuesday, I'll be there for you. Cool. All right. Didn't do a double intro, so you guys get your present. Ready? 1, 2, 3.